Hello, so today we're going to be going over the new patch, the patch 14.17 that's going to be coming out this Wednesday. Sorry I'm a bit late, I was quite busy over the weekend, but this is in between our daily VOD reviews. We're going to do content like this where, you know, if you're coming to me as your source of TFT information, I'm going to go through the patch notes that are available. This is from Mortdog's YouTube channel. These are just the slides that he presented that are taken from that YouTube video, and then I'm going to look at them, react to them, and tell you my interpretation of them. If you want to see Mortdog's interpretation, if you want to support TFT Dev himself, please make sure to go like and subscribe Mortdog. I'm taking it and I'm giving credit to all of this. All of these slides are basically his work, and I give credit to that. Without much further ado, though, let's go through the patch and let's talk about what we're gonna see. Now, what I'm hoping to see is a little bit less reroll, a little bit more 4 cost, maybe 5 cost buffs. I think I skimmed it briefly, so I have a couple talking points, but we'll just go through it slide by slide and go through everything. So, traits large. So, Arcana, they're making the emblem, so when you select the Arcana emblem, they're making the base damage amp a little bit higher, and the damage amp per emblem a little bit lower. I think that balances it such that if you get a single Arcana emblem, you're a little bit stronger, but if you get multiple emblems, it's not as much of a big deal. This was a huge deal. It basically made Trainer Sentinels an unusable portal, in my opinion, because you were basically just hoping to hit an Arcana emblem. Because, like, if you played, like, Trainer Sentinels, and, like, I'm talking about, like, before the game starts, you know, you sit on the portals, and then it sets up, like, the tone of the whole game, right before the game starts. Trainer Sentinels was the worst thing ever, because if anybody had an Arcana emblem, they basically just got a bunch of extra damage amp for free. They don't even have to play like 4 or 5 Arcana. It's just like whatever comp they want to play, they just have to throw in one Arcana unit, usually either a Tom Kench or a, what's his name? Hecarim, which are both frontline units that you can easily just fit into any comp, and then you would just get a bunch of damage amp for free because you basically scale off all these emblems. It was ridiculous and it was annoying. So I like to see them addressing it. The 3 and the 2 Arcana and the 4 Arcana are actually big drops here, especially in the extra per emblem. They did buff the damage amp for just 1 emblem, which, you know, is to make it like maybe Arcana emblem as not completely useless. I don't think this is enough of a nerf, in my opinion, because I wouldn't even buff the first part. I would just say, fuck it, just leave it as is. Like, this is a max cap type of thing, so I feel like in the hands of a right person, it's always going to be broken. So, you know, but that's just me. Hecarim buffed his AD to make him a little bit more viable as an option. Usually never picked Hecarim. Makes sense. I think that's fine. And then Xerath, they're reducing the true damage for the 3 and the 4 Arcana. I think that's good. I think that the 1 and 2 Arcana weren't as big of a problem. It's usually you can fit in 3 fairly easily by just playing Tom Kench, Xerath, and Hecarim. So now you're a bit more incentivized to play around, like, oh, actually 3 isn't changing. 3 is just 5. This is 2 and this is 3. I would have nerfed 3. I think 3 is a problem still. And it's only 1% on the higher levels. I think this is still going to be a problem. One of the biggest problems this patch is that rerolls are really viable. And rerolls are also in turn viable because of how easy it is that after all you have to do is just level for Xerath. So, like, a lot of times with rerolls, it's hard to cap out your board because it's like, well, what do I put in, right? It's like my reroll is kind of capped out. This is all I can really do. A lot of the reroll comps, what you can do is you can just level and play 2 or 3 Arcana. So let's say you're rerolling on level 6. If you hit everything early enough and you can level to 7 or 8 or even 9, you can just like swap out some of your units that aren't doing that much to put in 2 or 3 Arcana, depending if you make it to level 8 or 9. And then you just get a bunch of bonus true damage if you find a Xerath. So it was actually like ridiculous. Also, my music stopped. Okay, my music's back. So I wouldn't. I would have nerfed 3 as well. I think 3 is the number where most people are playing it, and it was still kind of like a problem in my perspective. But I think this is fine. It's a step in the right direction. Hopefully they nerf 3 eventually, because I think 3 is the most popular one, and it's still a problem with those reroll comps. I think a lot of them. Bastion. They're making 6 Bastion a little bit better. I think it's good. I think that's good. Bastions also transfer more armor, so 5 is actually substantial, right? It's not like minimal. I think 6 Bastion is basically like you never play it. There's never really a reason to play 6 Bastion. Now we might see some kind of crazy lines of maybe 6 Bastion and a Gwinsu user, like 6 Bastion Callista, 6 Bastion and some sort of backline unit that just like shreds and does like a shit ton of damage. So definitely viable. Chrono, they're making 4 Chrono a lot better. 4 Chrono really felt like, you know, it wasn't that good. 6 Chrono, if you had a spot for it, it was usually very high roll, but not very, like, you know, that's a top of a vertical trait. You know, you have to have good justification for always reaching the top of a vertical trait. 4 Chrono was like, you never really want to play it. They're upping that stun time to 3 seconds. That's a pretty big stun, an extra 0.5 seconds. They're giving the extra a bit more extra AP, or sorry, more time on the AP. And then they're giving like, I think it's just good. I don't know if 4 Chrono is going to be super meta, but it's really easy to fit in, especially if you get on like a Trainer Sentinel, because Vex is really nice to play for Chrono. And then you have like the dual synergy with what's his name, Jax and Camille. The two of them are both multi-striker and Chrono, so a lot of times you can easily fit it in together. You can easily fit them in together if you hold on to a Jax and play a board where you just need like one more multi-striker, for example. But Chrono really felt like more of like a 8-9 board, so it's not super relevant in the meta, is how it felt. Eldritch, increasing the scaling on the dude, the Eldritch Beast, and increasing the base HP. I think the Eldritch Beast, they like, you know, we went from a spot from Eldritch being like really strong and School Mascot and all of that shit. Now School Mascot's really bad. There's not really good Eldritch boards that you can play because playing just Nami isn't that great. And if you have to play around Nami synergies like Mage and like playing like a dual carry, you don't have that with Eldritch anymore. So I don't know if it's going to be super great, but obviously if you have like a spat and you can play around it, or you have School Mascot, probably is going to be better now. Honeymancy is getting a buff. This is only for 5 Honeymancy, really. 7 Honeymancy, you need 2 spats. It can be very hard to hit. But basically, you're getting extra bees. The bees are what do a lot of the damage of the Honeymancy trait. I felt like vertical Honeymancy was always useless. Even 3 Honeymancy in a lot of cases is useless. The main thing that this affects is hero augments, I believe. Right? The only time you really play vertical Honeymancy is when you have either the Nunu hero augment or the Blitzcrank hero augment. And giving them more bees is just going to make that more broken. So I don't know if I agree with this change, but for the average player that's not getting the hero augments, Honeymancy isn't very viable, especially as a vertical. Because, like, you know, you're never playing Kog'Maw reroll or Viger reroll with extra Honeymancy. It doesn't make sense in those comps. The other thing that this can also help, by the way, is 2 Tanky. I haven't had a chance to try it out yet, but something that I speculated, it's been for a very long time. If you look at 2 Tanky with Honeymancy, it usually performs pretty well. It might be in part because of the hero augments, because hero augment with 2 Tanky, even at least 2 Tanky with Spider Queen is really strong. But 2 Tanky is the one where you play 2 copies of every unit, because you're rerolling all the Honeymancy units. If you're trying to just go vertical Honeymancy and reroll all of them, 2 Tanky works out really well because you can just play 5 Honeymancy, and then you have like an unkillable Nunu, an unkillable Blitzcrank that both do a bunch of B damage, and then your backline you can also double up on with the Viger and the Kog'Maw, but that's like specific, so that might be something that becomes a little bit more viable that you can play towards if you see an early 2 Tanky. Hunter, they're buffing 6 Hunter, and they buffed an extra bit of percentage damage on 4 Hunter. I think 4 Hunter's in a good spot. I think there's comps that actually use it really well. 6 Hunter, you need a spat for, I'm pretty sure. Or it's very hard to fit in because 6 units, you know, it's a bit ridiculous. So buffing it makes sense because I felt like there was never a reason, even with a spat, to play 6 Hunter. So good changes all around. Traits. So continuing with the traits, they're buffing 6 Fairy. So 6 Fairy kind of weak. It's not that it never really felt good. Fairy is always nice to play. 2 Fairy, 4 Fairy, kind of like meh, like you never really want to play it. And then 6 Fairy, it didn't feel worth it for the investment. I feel like unless you have a spat, you can't really play around 6 Fairy easily. But getting this extra, they're basically giga juicing the Queen's Armor, which is the extra item you get when you get the Fairy, when you get to 6 Fairy. I think this is very spat gate kept, right? Like maybe I'm wrong, but I think if you have a spat and you could put it on one of those like giga frontline units, like imagine you're playing Katarina reroll and you're playing 6 fairy with that, and then you can put like this queen's armor on one of the other warrior units, like Gwen for example, which I skimmed before, and Gwen's getting buffs. You can make fairy Gwen, she gets queen's armor, Katarina with the damage amp, right? You have a lot of play with when you have a spat that you can use to put the fairy crown on somebody else, or the queen's armor on somebody else. Vertical fairy without it maybe works out, right? Rakan queen's armor, maybe. It's just I feel like there's not a good holder of this queen's armor. Maybe Katarina if you're putting the crown on the other dude, Callista. But you know, I expect there to be maybe Katarina comps where you're either playing 2 or 4 warrior with Katarina, and then you play vertical fairy instead of playing some of the other traits like pyro and stuff like that sometimes people play. That might be viable now. Encanter, they're buffing 4 Encanter. I don't see that being a bit anything meaningful at all, because unless they giga buff some of the Encanter units, because 4 Encanter, it's like you can't fit it in. You have to play a Ziggs. Really? You're playing a Ziggs on your board with like what? You know, doesn't make sense to me. But that's fine. It was shit anyway, so you know they need to buff it somehow. Mages, they're buffing 9 mage and they're buffing 7 mage, and they're leaving the other mages alone. I don't get this. I think mages are very strong. I think even Nami, if you play Nami carry, like besides like certain reroll comms that she doesn't have enough damage to chew through, Nami does a shit ton of damage and she has great utility. And the Viger comp is a fucking problem to me. I played Viger when Syndra was meta, and I remember I said it to the chat. Go check the tapes. I was playing against Syndra, and I beat a Syndra with a Viger 3 and a Vex 3, and I said, yeah, this comp is really good. It doesn't matter how broken everything is. If they start nerfing everything and they don't deal with this Viger Vex comp, it's going to be meta. It's going to be very strong. And now that it's meta, people are optimizing it. I made a video on it, and they're buffing mage as well. Like, what? Like, I know it's vertical mage, but the thing is, you can easily play 7 mage Viger if you get a mage +1. And it's just another way to cap the board. Like, now they nerfed Xerath a little bit. Like, you can cap the board pretty easily, because if you're rerolling on 7 and you're 7 mage, you could be 7 mage on 7, right? Like it's not that difficult. Or 7 mage on 8. So giving you an like, it just doesn't make sense to me to have it buffed, right? I understand. Like, I know they didn't highlight it, but it is changing 7 as well. I understand 9 mage getting buffed, because that felt like, you know, that's a stretch goal. You need 2 spats for it. But, you know, we'll see how it goes. Multi-striker, they're buffing 5 multi-striker. I like that. I felt like the multi-striker comp was very gate kept by, like, you need to hit 7 multi-striker, or else you just go bot 4 a lot of the time. So buffing 5 multi-striker makes it a little bit more viable, and it can also make it so that if you're not playing like a strictly like Kassadin Akali reroll, you have some other options. So I think these are good changes. I like that one. Portal, they're nerfing portal damage for 6 and 8 portal for the bomb, and they're increasing the other ones. So like the Poro snack and the flag. The flag basically just gives you your team attack speed. I think this is good changes. I don't think 6 portal ever really mattered. Usually you either play 3 portal just because like the comp allowed it and you just fit it in, and or you played 8 portal. So it makes sense in 8 portal for it to get like a little bit dealt with, because the bomb was egregious in 8 portal. Sometimes your backline would just instantly die. So this is a really good change. I would have liked something to get changed with 3 portal as well. Me personally, like, I don't like that the only change to 3 portal is that you're getting buffed, because I think that, like, you know, like Ari reroll board, this portal snack a lot of times can like save your board. Like, I think it was fine the way it was, but the change is so small it doesn't matter. We're not gonna bitch about that, you know what I mean? Good changes all around here. Pyro, they're making Pyro more like a power fantasy, I think. Like, more like that, like, we're gonna giga scale, right? Like, I think, like, it's gonna turn more into what I imagined it would be when I was reading what Pyro trait did in PvE. They're making it so you stack more cinders, right? You get 2% per 5 instead of 1% per 4. Roughly, that's gonna equate to, like, 75% increase or something like that. Like, 80% increase, right? It's quite a bit. So it's pretty good. Now maybe you're more incentivized to play pyro style boards if you have an early pyro opener. So let's say you have like a Shen Akali early, you don't even have to worry about Akali reroll or Shen reroll. You just have them in to slowly build up cinders because you're gonna get so much attack speed later. They're cutting the base attack speed though, and they're cutting the execute threshold. These are good changes. This execute threshold, before it used to be that only 5 pyro had execute, then it was like, that's not good. Then they added execute to like all of them, like all the pyros, and it was fucking annoying. Like, it's so annoying sometimes when somebody has like a Varus 1 and they just like kill your board, and it's like, bro, because like some comps like this like having a comp with an execute is sometimes really like counter matchup to certain other comps, and I just found it really annoying. So that's me personally. Like, I feel like this threshold should be lower. It made sense to have it at the 5 pyro because it's not that hard to get to 5 pyro. You just need 1 spat. And those comps, it's like, okay, yeah, that's a really strong comp, but I just felt like it was a little bit too overbearing to be at like 2 pyro and then randomly just get executed. So cutting it down a little bit is probably the best of both worlds, where you keep that kind of trait, that trait ability that people probably enjoy and love, but at the same time makes it a little bit more bearable in certain matchups. Right? I'm specifically talking like melee into pyro was really annoying, and like what else did I hate? Like when you have like a Wukong or a Giga Tank and then he just dies. Like sometimes it's just like counter matchup, or sometimes you just get sniped. Like I think it's just a good change. Shapeshifter is getting a lot of buffs. They're increasing it by like 1%, 2%, 3%, 5%. Like, these are pretty good changes. It's not that substantial, but Shapeshifter is like overall one of the worst of the things, one of the worst of the frontline traits. So I kind of enjoy that. And now this is the one that I've been waiting for. I always wanted to play Sugarcraft. These are the type of comps that I really enjoy playing. If you remember me in set 10, I basically played as much 8-bit as I could. Eventually 8-bit became meta, and then everybody was playing it, but even before then, I just tried my hardest to play 8-bit as much as I can. It's the same with Sugarcraft, right? If you watch my streams, there's so many times where I'm like, okay, you know what? Last game of the day, fuck it. It's a Sugarcraft game. Because I really like these things where you get like cash outs and you have to like see the number go up and you try and plan for like a late game scale comp. They're making it so that you get way more AP and AD. But what they're doing is they're making the final cash outs a little bit worse. Now these are the final cash outs, by the way, that they're nerfing. The 600, I believe, is the is like when you scale, that's to scale your cake to max. So you'll still be able to get to like 7 or 10 cake layers. I think it's 7, right? 7 layers. You'll still be able to get to your 7 layers in the same amount of time. It's just to get like the golden remover and the extra components and the extra gold, it's going to be a little bit further away, which to me doesn't matter that much because it's not that much further away. Like it's 1750 to 1800, you know what I mean? Like it might matter in 1 or 2 fights, but it's not like the most substantial. It's not like game breaking. It's not like the game's over type of situation. But having these more stacks is huge. It might make all the Sugarcraft units very strong. Because it's a lot, right? They're not changing like the amount of scaling. It's just the base, by the way. But the base matters quite a bit because I think that like you get a base AD and then the layers give you 10% more. So this 5, you know, if it's 10% more, it's gonna be like 70% more of 5, right? Like it scales, so it's substantial because it's like interest, it compounds. So starting the base by so much, especially with 2 going up by 8, it makes it a lot more viable in my opinion. Vanguard 6 Vanguard buffing, that makes sense. I felt like 6 Vanguard I think is already really strong, but I think they're trying to make it so that you're rewarded for playing like really big vertical traits, right? That's why they're buffing like 6 and 8 Bastion. It's just to make it a viable option so that you're not just playing like the lowest synergy of the frontline trait. They want to make it so that you have the option to make these like giga front lines, like these walls of doom that you can't break through. Okay, now we go to champs. Jace 5 AD. I'm gonna say something. I don't know if people are gonna agree with me. I don't know if people are gonna think that I'm saying the right thing or whatever. 5 AD, what I've learned in TFT patches is that 5 AD makes a unit broken. Zaya 5 AD broken. that was last set. There's countless examples where you just give 5 base AD and the unit goes from like being one of the worst units in the game to being one of the best units in the game. I already think Jace is really strong. I play around Jace a lot. I think they didn't nerf 3 portal at all, like the shielding. I think if you have an early opener 3 portal Jace, and you have a Jace upgrade, there's so many times where this unit just absolutely destroys and wins you rounds so easily, even into mid game. So giving him a 5 AD buff, I think Jace is going to be a problem. I think he's going to be one of the best 1-cost frontline units, semi-frontline unit. I know he starts as a backline unit, then he jumps in as a frontline unit. But insane. And they're also buffing Shapeshifter. Yeah, why? I don't know. Soraka, they're giga buffing her. I think it's to make her more, like, do more healing and stuff. The Soraka unit is weird because there's some situation, I even spoke about it last time because they buffed her before already. Like, she still feels like she does nothing. But I don't know, because like every time I look at the Soraka unit in the stats, there's always like these weird stats where it shows her like being really, really strong. And like 3-star Soraka with some weird item combinations like is like game winning on the spot. And I don't know if it's like super high roll, if it's like something else that I'm missing. Like I don't pay for premium stats, so I can't like dig any deeper. But I'm kind of just sitting here like twiddling my thumbs saying like, is this Soraka unit? Is there some tech? And they keep buffing her, and every time I see a buff I get stressed because I'm like, is there something, like there's something cooking here. And I wouldn't be surprised if, like, you know, come Wednesday people start like exclaiming about all these different Soraka boards that are broken, and at the same time they might say that they're all trash. But I don't know, it's like there's these awkward situations, like either with Vertical Mage or a bunch of Vanguards or like Sugarcraft, where like Soraka with items is like giga strong. I've seen people try Soraka Seraphine reroll, and that sucks. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking like there's like these weird situations like with Ornn artifacts and stuff like that where she looks like she's good, right? Like I've seen like Suspicious Trenchcoat Soraka is like really strong apparently. Like I don't even know why. I think it's just like the attack speed, and if she breaks she just like heals your whole board. Like I don't know what's going on. That's what I mean. It's like some weird shit that might pop up eventually. We'll see. Ziggs less mana. Ziggs kind of sucked. Maybe this helps him. Namzi was weird. He kind of always sucked. These buffs are fucking insane. And then paired with it are Twitch buffs, right? So, I don't know how I feel about this. I think Namzi has the potential to be really, really broken now. I don't like it when they buff 1 cost by this much. The reason I don't like 1 cost getting buffed so much is because if there's more 1 cost rerolls, the more low level rerolls you have, the more likely the meta is going to favor rerolls, right? So let's say you have a 1 cost reroll, right? Well, let me just like, I need somewhere to write. Is the next slide a little bit neater? No. Whatever. I'll write over here. So let's say you have 1 cost rerolls, right? If you have a 1 cost reroll, you are like 3-star on stage 3, right? Like 3-1, you have your 3 stars. So you spike at 3-1. If you're a 2 cost reroll, typically you're gonna have your 3-star at 2-1, or sorry, at 4-1, right? You're gonna have your 3-star at 4-1. And if you have a 3 cost reroll, you're gonna spike, like your final spike is gonna be around 5-1, right? It's just kind of like the tempo of the game. So a lot of times if you're rolling for 2 costs, you're rolling throughout stage 3. So then by this time you're at stage 4, you get your 3 costs, your 3 stars. If you're rolling for a 3 cost, usually you start rolling at stage 4. So then by the time you hit your 3-star 3 cost, you're at stage 5. And then, but with 1 cost, you're stabilizing at 3-1. So if you're stabilizing at 3-1 here, what about the people that want to go level 4, right? They want to play like a 4 cost comp. Well, if they want to play a 4 cost comp, they're going to get railed by these people. They're going to get railed by these people. And then they're going to get railed by these people. Why the fuck would you ever play a 4 cost comp if there's a 1 cost that's viable, if there's a 2 cost that's viable, and there's 3 costs that are viable? It makes it so that, like, you know, the game is supposed to be balanced such that, like, you know, you want to make it, especially for people that aren't as familiar with units and aren't as familiar with, like, econ management and making, like, complex boards later in the game. You want to make it so that, like, you get a unit and you can play the unit and the unit will do stuff and it will be good. But if you keep buffing low-cost units, what's going to happen is, like, you know, if I'm trying to play a 4-cost board, for example, I want to play a flexible 4-cost board. I don't want to commit to a reroll comp at 2-1. right? I don't want to start the game, say I'm reroll, that's it, I'm going to play. What's going to happen is Nomsy reroller, let's say Nomsy reroll does become meta, because now Twitch is also getting buffed. Twitch fucking sucked, by the way, so Twitch needed buffs. I didn't think Nomsy sucked that much, but these are pretty substantial for Nomsy. I think this guy should have gotten more buffs than Nomsy, but I digress. Let's say you're playing like Nomsy, right? Then like, you know, Nomsy 3 is gonna show up. I'm gonna lose a bunch of HP trying to make it to level 8 because this guy's gonna have a 3-star. Then by the time I make it to level 8, I'm gonna get railed by whoever's playing, I don't know, not Katarina, whoever's playing like a Kali Nyla reroll, right? Because they're gonna hit all their 3-stars as soon as I hit my first 4 cost. So then I'm gonna get railed by those guys. I'm probably gonna get railed by this guy again, and now I'm gonna be like, what, like 1 life, start of stage 5? I'm gonna be dead because then the 3-cost rerollers are gonna hit. So you're incentivized to like roll earlier and roll with the rerollers. So that's why I don't like 1-cost being very strong. I prefer 1-cost to just do their job. They should be good at they should be good at 2-star. There should maybe be 1 or 2 situational comps that are good, and that's it. Also, the other thing I want to say about Nomsy and Twitch getting these buffs, upgraded adventure. So remember, upgraded adventure is a prismatic where if you hit 4 3-star units, you get a cash out, and it's really good. It's game winning for Zoe reroll. If you play with Zoe reroll, you pretty much always win the game. It's very, very strong. I did a video on it. It was before Zoe reroll was super meta, before Ari got like kind of reworked or buffed and then nerfed and whatever. It was around like Syndra meta, so it's a little bit dated, the video that I made. I'm trying to make a new one once I get a spot for it. But now there's another comp that you could have played was Nomsy Twitch, and then you could either play Jace, who's getting buffed, so you can play Jace Elise so that you have a front line of shapeshifters, or you can play what's their name, Warwick and Blitzcrank. And those are like the 4 1-cost that you can roll for and then get your upgraded adventure cash out. It sucked before to play that comp because all of these units sucked. But if all of these units are good, then you can just play Shapeshifter with the Nomsy and the Twitch, and then you level for Shyvana. Shapeshifter is getting buffed as well, so then you upgrade Shyvana, and then you upgrade 1 more Shapeshifter, and then you have 4 Shapeshifter which got buffed, and you're strong as shit. Anyways, that's all I have to say about this slide. It's gonna be a long ass video. Ari nerfs, yes, all good. I think Ari needs a little bit of a tweaking. She got fixed up quite a bit, but she's still really strong. I'm okay with this. A little bit of Cassiopeia. I think Cassiopeia doesn't really perform at all, so that's good. Syndra, they're buffing her slightly. I feel like, yeah, they axed her, and then she was like kind of relevant. Then people found better boards, and now she's kind of ass. So they buffed her a little bit. They're very small buffs, right? It's like 5%. It doesn't adjust her scaling at all. So I think that if you want to play Syndra now, you really have to have a Syndra early with good Syndra items. Like, let's say you start the game with like a Gwinsu Shojin or a Shojin Nashers, then you could probably play around the Syndra reroll. They did buff 4 Incanter, so if you get an Incanter +1, it might actually be good to play like 4 Incanter Syndra reroll with a Karma into late game. So these are some viable options. I think that's fine. I felt like Syndra was in an okay spot right now. I would have preferred like other comps be brought down to her level, the same way like Ari's getting slight nerf, but I understand that she does need a little bit of an increase in damage, so that makes sense to me. Just got really power crept and deleted last patch, but that's fine by me. Akali nerfed to the kunai AD percentage, so I think that makes sense. It's just so her AP scaling isn't getting hurt at all. I think that she already liked having mixed items like Hodge and Giant Slayer and things like that. I think the biggest problem was when, like I talked about a lot, when you had something like Deathblade Akali, like DB Akali. I felt like it was just like one of the best items you can have on her. You put DB and she just like deletes a backline unit. So this kind of deals with a little bit of that problem. Like if you have like Turbo Bis, like Giga items on her, she becomes a little bit of an annoying problem. But at the same time, I have no faith in Akali, and I already thought she was ass. So for me, it's like I'm indifferent. It's like, yeah, nerf her for like the people that complain about her, but I never really complained. I kind of hated playing around her because there's so many times that she just like doesn't kill a backline unit and then dashes back to the front line and dies, and I'm like, really girl, what are we doing here? Shyvana buffs. Remember I was saying Nomsy reroll with Twitch. Shyvana is getting buffed too. I'm pretty sure it's gonna be viable. I'm pretty sure you're gonna have Nomsy, Shyvana, 4 Shapeshifter, and then you just level for Dragon and you get 3 Dragon in or something like that. This is ridiculous. 5 armor and MR is huge, especially for a unit like Shyvana where she dives the backline. 5 armor and MR is one of those numbers where it really destroys. It really like absolutely could make a unit go from unviable to viable. And then they're increasing the AP ratio. Shyvana is supposed to be like this attack fighter. She's supposed to be kind of like semi-melee unit, semi-tank. So she should be versatile with items, and especially increasing the AP ratio makes her have that type of trait with her. 3-cost Cham. So Hecarim, they're giving a bunch of buffs to. I don't know why. I think they're trying to make Hecarim... Like, Hecarim always didn't use items really well. You kind of just used him as a tank, and he was kind of like a shitty tank. So, you know, that's fine. Swain, people are saying that Swain's pretty ass. I think Swain is ass. Only very specific situations was Swain really good. But this is another shapeshifter getting buffed. Like, 4 shapeshifter is looking more and more viable by the day. Like, what the fuck? Hello? This? Hello? Well, I guess they're decreasing damage on first cast. But these ones are pretty substantial. Right? Like, the, especially if you have like 3-star Swain. He's gonna be giga tanky now. And as well, 5 armor MR boost is insane. This one, I don't fucking understand. Why are we buffing Vex? Like, is this getting B-patched? Like, what the fuck? Hello? Hello? Like, hello? Who's picking up the phone? Like, what? Like, Vex buffs? Vex is already unkillable. Like, I better see, like, I see Vigor here, and I see green on Vigor. Like, we're gonna bitch a little bit about that, you know? Like, I don't know if you guys aren't playing Vigor Vex, but like, I swear to God, like, if you have an uncontested Vigor Vex spot, I don't know what they're doing. Like, what? Like, this does not make sense to me at all. This comp is like, it's like an instant win. Like, I don't think I've gotten bot. Like, the only time I went bot 2 with Vigor Vex was when I was contested. And the only reason I was contested was because I took Forbidden Idol, which is a good Vex item, and it's also a good Blitzcrank item. So I was leaning towards these lines. And I was going to play Kog'Maw. This was on stream yesterday. I was gonna play Kog'Maw, and then there was a Kog'Maw reroller, and there's a Jinx reroller. So I'm like, I guess I'll play Vex. And then there was another guy with Forbidden Idol, and he looked like he was angling Vigor. And then I get dropped tier bow belt and a Vigor. So I put Vigor with best items in slot. Blue buff Nashers, and the other guy had no Vigor items. He had a naked Vigor for the entire game, and I'm looking at him and I'm like, bro, like, I'll hold your hand and go 7-8. There's nothing else I can play. Like, I'm not gonna sell my Vigor with BIS items because you have a Vigor with 0 items on him. And the guy just sat there the whole game. He went 8th. And I hit it. I would have probably gotten first if I hit Vigor 3 after he died, but I was just too low HP because I didn't stabilize, and I went 7th. But that's the only time I didn't go top 4 with Vigor. That's literally the only time I didn't go top 4 with it. Every spot, doesn't matter how bad it is, these units are fucking broken. It is so strong. I top 4'd when Syndra was broken with Vigor Vex. The Syndra couldn't even out DPS me. That's how broken it. Like, I don't get it. Anyways, Jinx. There was a bug fix. There was a bug with Jinx. If you looked in the stats, and if you're trying to like if you're trying to build items, even if you didn't look at the stats, a lot of times she felt like she underperformed. If you gave her like a lot of sword items like IE and Deathblade, it's because she was bugged that it wasn't using her AD ratio properly. She's supposed to do extra true damage based on her AD. Used her base AD instead of her final AD. So if you gave her a Deathblade, it would still calculate with her base AD, and then the Deathblade would just like scale the later damage from her auto attacks and stuff like that. So her spell wasn't working correctly, and that makes a lot of sense because if you looked in the stats, it was like usually just made bow items unless you're playing Sugarcraft, because then Sugarcraft scales the AD a little bit more, so you have a little bit more to work with. But if you're playing like Wukong Jinx, so it looks like these are all red, but I'm sure she's getting buffed by a lot. I think that, like, you know, if they just bug fixed her, she was already doing a shit ton of damage. So if you just bug fixed her to like actually use her spell properly, she'd be like actually like fucking broken to a point where like everybody would play Jinx. So they had to do something to compensate because they just fixed her. But I think it's an overall buff, right? I know it says red here, but I think Jinx is much stronger, especially with Sugarcraft changes, right? They changed 2 Sugarcraft, was a huge change as well, and a lot of Jinx boards you only play 2 Sugarcraft, so that's big. Vigor, I don't understand this. I don't get it. This frustrates me. Like I better see some 4-cost get like some giga buffs on the next slide. Like, if I don't see a 4-cost look like that, like if I don't see a 4-cost highlighting green like a fucking Christmas tree, Like, it's just a reroll patch. Like, what? Oh, Vigor 2 isn't stable enough? Are you kidding me? I've won games with Vigor 2. I've gotten first. I'm pretty sure I got first or second with a Vigor 2 one time. Like, it's not even like you need BIS items on this guy. Like, if you scale him well with charms, like, I know they nerfed Arcana, which is a big deal. So Arcana was like double scaling, because if you scaled Vigor with charms, he would scale his AP, and then also by buying charms, if you find a Xerath, then you can play Tahm Kench Xerath, and then you get a bunch of bonus true damage, and that's what made Vigor really broken, because it doesn't matter what you do, you had such a high cap. So, like, you know, Vigor 3, like, 3-star, like, reroll is super stable to get a top 4, like most rerolls. But then you can max cap, because if you find a single Xerath, you go to level 8, you play Xerath, and then bang, the whole board's dead. The thing is, they also buffed 7 Mage, so now you can play 7 Mage Vigor. It's not even like you don't have options, because 7 Mage wasn't necessarily the best, but it was still good. Like, you have so many options now. Like, I don't get it. And then it's like, Vigor 2 isn't stable enough? Like, I'm okay with that. Like, they nerfed Vigor 3, but it doesn't seem like that big. Look, Vigor 2 got a 30 AP buff, and Vigor 3 got a 5 AP nerf. Now, 5 AP is a lot. Remember, I was saying 5 AD is a lot. 5 AP is a lot. This isn't base, though, right? When I say 5 AD is a lot, like here, 55 to 50 AD, this is a big nerf because that's base AD, so all the items scale off of it. This is like the spell damage AP, which is different. So 5 is a different number here, by the way. 5 is the same number, but 5 means something very different here. Now, 5 AP change on the spell, does that matter that much when you have a unit that's like scaling infinitely with AP? Like, I don't even think that changes much. Like, what does that do? Like, let's say it reduces it by like 5%, right? Like, that's even an overestimate, I think. Maybe, let's say it increases by even more. I don't know. Let's pick a number. Let's say it's like 10% damage reduction. So then Vigor's going to hit for, instead of hitting for 1,000 late game, he's going to hit for 990. Oh, no, that's 1%. He's going to, instead of hitting for 1,000, he's going to hit for 900. Right? Like, does this really make a difference? Question mark. And that's like, this is like an overestimate, I think. Like, maybe my numbers are wrong. Maybe this is substantial. But making Vigor more stable at 2 and 1 makes him, like, that makes it so insane, because then you can greed your econ a lot more, and you'll be able to max cap around 7 Mage or Arcana easier. So I don't understand these changes at all. I hope it gets B-patched. What? Maybe I'm just wrong. I might just be dumb, right? I might just be dumb. I might be blowing out of proportion. Mordekaiser. Yeah, Mordekaiser's been broken. Make the spell shield a little bit smaller on 3-star. Love that. Mordekaiser 1 small buff. That's also cool. I felt like Mordekaiser sometimes just died. Good changes. Shen, durability changes. That's fine. I think Shen 3 was kind of useless, and Shen 2 a lot of times felt a little bit weak. Love little changes to these units. Very good. And with Bastion changes, maybe Shen's much a lot more viable. And then Nico, they're buffing all the shapeshifters. It was due. The shapeshifters sucked. I hope it's just not super broken. They're making the ability heal and max AP scale. She scales with HP anyways because she's a shapeshifter. I feel like the Nomsy reroll is the better benefit of this, because all the shapeshifters just play Nomsy, and then you just sit there and just kill everything. I don't know. Seems kind of crazy. 4 costs. Not enough green here. I'm not gonna lie. It's not looking like enough green. I would like to see a lot of other green units here, but it's okay. Gwen. These changes are crazy. So Sugarcraft is getting a huge buff, so we already know that. Gwen, they're reducing the mana, and they're making her only get 1 like, she stacks her snips a little bit faster. So instead of every 2 cast that you get a snip snack, it's a snip stack. It's every 1 cast. This seems kind of insane. Gwen is kind of a weird unit where she scales really well. So I really like Gwen. I think Gwen, like, people keep asking what's my favorite units of the patch and what's my favorite comps. Obviously, I would say Sugarcraft always, because I love those style of comps. That's what my preference, my favorite comp every single TFT patch that I play is always going to be the one that plays like a Sugarcraft or a Dryad or an 8-bit from the last couple sets. Those are the ones I enjoy the most. This Gwen unit might be really broken just because 1 cast per snip is really strong. Now they're nerfing everything else about her, but they buffed Sugarcraft, so it should compensate a little bit. the thing with the snips is that you already can make Gwen many different items, right? You can make her like very melee focused, which isn't usually the best. A lot of times the best items on her are like tank AP items, because you just want her to live long enough to get these snip stacks so that she just like deletes units. She dashed around a lot, she's very hard to hit, very hard to kill, easily de-aggros herself, and then on top of it now she's gonna scale faster. So I think that these nerfs don't even matter. I think Gwen's gonna be very strong. Usually she was the weaker of the warrior units, and you often just built her like a tank, or at least I did. I would build her with a tank and a mana item, and I would just hope that she would live long enough to stack up her snips. Now that she's actually gonna stack the snips, I feel like you just put Crown Guard, Adaptive Helm, blue buff, and you just let her rock. You just let her sit there. It's like, yeah, try and kill her. No, you didn't kill her. Oh, GG. She's freaking gonna cut you. Like Sweeney Todd in this bitch, you know? Like, I think these are good I think this is fun, because I felt like she was a bit underperforming, so I like these changes. But that's also because I'm a Gwen enjoyer. Maybe you look at this and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, I hate warriors, you know? That's up to your interpretation. Less health on Nasus. I think Nasus was still strong. They nerfed him already. But yeah, makes sense. They're also buffing shapeshifters by a lot. It's nice to see at least one of the shapeshifters get some kind of tuning. Taric 3-star didn't work properly. They fixed it. Who cares? Like, I'm not hitting Taric 3. Nami buffs. I felt like Nami was already very strong. Buffed mages, buffed Viger, buffed 7 mage. Yeah, fuck it. Buff Nami too, right? Like, who am I to judge? You know what I want? I want to see the next slide. I want them to buff Nora. Fuck it. Let's buff all of them. Taric nerfs are pretty substantial. One less spell target. So Rise. Rise nerfs pretty substantial, so Rise will be a little bit worse. So we'll see how that goes. 5 costs. Cool. So 5 costs. Briar getting a lot of buffs. I think Briar is this is just hyper roll, by the way, this 3 to 4%. I think Briar was in a good spot where she felt really broken, but sometimes she just died. I think this makes a lot of sense. Just giving her buffs all around. She might be very broken now, but I think that out of some of the 5 costs, I would like to see Camille here. I think Camille has the same problem as Briar, so I don't know why Camille isn't getting buffed, but sure. It's a lot of AS buff, and it's a lot of extra AD percentage, so like I feel like, you know, Deathblade Briar can just like one-shot backline units, or not one-shot, but just like kill a bunch of shit. I felt like Briar was already a good +1, especially if you had a Briar 2. But I think a lot of this is to try and make it so that Briar 1 is a little bit more stable. Morgana as well. They're making her a little bit more damage. I think that Morgana was really good at tanking. But a lot of times, like, I would play games and I would have a Morgana 2. And she just didn't do that much work. Like, she would just tank. And she would drain tank, but she wouldn't kill anything. So I'm okay with her getting buffed a little bit. Like I said, you know, in a very reroll focused patch, if you have some 5 costs that are a little bit more strong, I think that's good. It makes it so there's a little bit of like dichotomy in the strategy, because right now, like, even looking at these patch notes and from what I know about the previous patch, it still feels like it's going to be very reroll focused. I don't think there's going to be anything in particular here that makes me feel like you don't just reroll 9 out of 10 games. So I think that's going to continue for this patch. Buffing Xerath is ballsy. I'll give it to them. And making I think this is a, I don't know if this is starting mana, if it's a nerf, but Milio changes are also whatever. Like, I don't understand these two. These two I understand. These two I don't understand, because they're already pretty meta in the comps that you play them in, and they're already really strong +1s, because Milio just gives you a bunch of items and damage, and Xerath does the same. So like, I don't know. Items. These items are pretty substantial changes. So what they wanted to do is they wanted to, like, there's these things like this item's good, this item's bad, this item's makeable, this item's not. They want to like completely like nerf all the items to bring all the power levels closer to each other. So for example, here, you'll see like everything's getting like small nerfs to like AP and AD. It's to make them all like closer together in their power levels. I don't really see this being like good at all. It's like, why? Like, I just don't get it, because it's like, what? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me from a conceptual standpoint, because I feel like there's always gonna be items that are good and bad to make, and the part of TFT is not necessarily like greeting for perfect items. I think that's like a very like low, like, how do I phrase it? That's like a very like, that's only something that happens if you're like following a guide constantly, right? Like, if your guide says this item's the best and this item's the worst, and you have no, like, conceptual, like, you don't have, like, conception of, like, how to, like, item manage, which is something you learn over the course of TFT. You learn that, like, the items are slammable in a spot, right? Like, Jewel Gauntlet is an example. I think even Mortok said it in the video, because I looked at this slide for a while, because there was a lot to read. He was saying, like, people always say, challenger players say Jewel Gauntlet's unmakeable. And it's like, yeah, it is. But, like, most challenger players will say it's unmakeable and then they'll still make it, right? Because it's like you have to kill the glove, right? You have to use the glove component with the rod, because you can't just, like, sit there and say, I'm going to get Rabadon's GG. Like, you have to get rid of the glove, because there's not much you can make with the glove, especially if you're playing, like, an AP comp. So a lot of times you would just make Jewel Gauntlet and put it on the unit anyways, right? So I don't understand why they had to specifically address that aspect of it, because I feel like that's something that you learn in TFT, right? First you start with your guides, you learn that you need to put this item on this unit, and then eventually you start to learn, like, I can't just sit here and not make any items, so I have to make items. I guess this helps in that all the items are closer together in power, so if you're forced to make a different item, you don't feel as bad. But, like, I think there's still going to be items that are better than others, right? Every game, when you there's no way to perfectly balance a game so that there's not going to be a best item or a best comp or a best unit. There's always going to be something that is marginally better than everything else that will always win the fight if you get something versus something else, right? So to me, it's like, I don't get it. But, you know, of course, it's hard to say exactly for each of these. I'll point out the big one. I don't understand. So if we look here, I'll circle Last Whisper. Oh, Last Whisper is just base AS. Never mind. I misread it. Yeah, so it's like, I can't tell, right? The ones that are really big are stuff like Sterix Gauge, that might make, like, what's it called? Like, the ones that relate to, how do I phrase? The ones that relate to, the items that relate to augments, like Sterix Gauge when there's Unleash the Beast, that might make that augment in general worse. It's stuff like that that might matter. Stuff that I don't understand specifically is, like Guinsoo. Like, Guinsoo already feels like a bad item in a lot of cases. Like, there's only certain comps that really want it. Nerfing the attack speed of Guinsoo might make it so you just don't even make Guinsoo anymore. You might just, like, play just bow items in general instead. The same thing with Radiant items. They're kind of just, like, fixing it. I don't understand why Radiant Bloodthirster is getting a buff, because I feel like that was one of the best ones. But they're just, like, bringing the power level a little bit closer together. Like I said before, I don't think it's, like, a good change or a bad change. I just don't get it. Like, I don't understand how this is going to change anything. And maybe that's just me being cynical, but it just feels like, you know, there's still going to be a good item and a bad item. And a lot of this is just, like, you know, extra confusion of, like, shaking things up a little bit. So that's what I mean. So I don't know how any of these item changes matter. I can't speak to it perfectly. Artifacts, yeah, some of these are fucking ass. They're finally fixing some of them. Moguls, getting a huge HP buff. That's good. That fucking thing was so annoying sometimes. Prowler's Claw buffs, Fishbones buffs, Vampiric Scepter buff. Yeah, they all sucked. But Ornn Artifacts don't really matter to me, because I feel like Ornn Artifacts, it's like, if you have the spot for it and you have the item for it, you just have to play whatever you have. It is what it is. You have to hard force a comp, right? You can't just take Prowler's Claw and say, ooh, now it has more crit chance, I'll put it on some other units. Like, no, you have to put on a unit that can actually use Prowler's Claw, or else it's useless, right? So the changes are good, but they're not, like, substantially crazy or anything for me. Augments. So this is the last little part of the video. Hopefully, if you sat through all of this and me whining or me talking, hopefully it was informative. I'm trying to give my best opinion that I can, as well as my genuine reactions to a lot of these, and we'll see how the patch shakes up. And hopefully this was an enjoyable video so far. Now we're just gonna go over augments. AFK, sure, more gold. I already felt like it was pretty strong. People usually take AFK and force something, get your econ rolling, sure. Giving 20 gold is huge, because 20 gold guarantees that you'll be making like 30 probably. 30 in some galaxies, which really establishes your econ. So, good change, I guess, but I don't know, it might be like an insta-take. Combat badges, don't take. Don't ever take it. Listen to me. I will say it again, don't ever take it, it's bugged. He even said it's bugged. Mortdog said in this video it's bugged. They didn't know that it was bugged, so they were buffing it because they didn't understand why it wasn't performing well. It's bugged. After stage 5, it stops working. It just doesn't work. It literally just doesn't work past stage 5. It's bugged. Don't ever take it. Even if it looks like it's a good spot for you to take it, don't take it. It's bugged. It's not worth it, okay? You're going to lose the game for no reason. Okay, you're just gonna be like, maybe it matters because, like, you know, you take it and you streak and then stage 5 doesn't matter, but it's like it just disappears. It doesn't work properly. Okay, avoid it if you can. Next, Exiles. HP shield dropped, cool. Item ladder was bugged, so they removed it for now. Keepers, shield down. Exiles and keepers were both really good, even outside of like melee comps where it seems like it would be really strong. So nerfing both of them makes sense because they were like the best silver augments by far, or really close to best silver augments. Placebo giving 2% attack speed. I think it's like a meme almost what they're doing to that. So whatever, sure. Pumping up, starting attack speed is actually pretty good because the scaling was kind of useless, and sometimes the scaling was pretty useful, but the starting attack speed made it kind of useless because by the time you scaled to a meaningful value, it didn't matter. This is like 4 turns of scaling, so I expect it to be a lot better. With comps that need attack speed a lot. Gold augments, they're nerfing Golden Quest to one item and one artifact. Depending on what artifact combos they give with the units, I want to see the final table after the results. This Golden Quest needed a nerf, by the way. I think that I just don't really enjoy playing Golden Quest. Both times that I played it, I cashed out with like, you know, 30 HP, which seems like a lot, right? Imagine you have a 5 cost upgraded with items tailored to it and a bunch of gold and you're 30 HP. You would expect to like get top 4, but both times I got bot 4 because I rotate into Vigor, I lose the Vigor round. There's nothing I can do. It's Vigor 3, Vex 3, I lose against Vigor, right? I rotate into Jinx Wukong, I can't kill the Wukong, I lose against the Wukong, right? I've like, maybe now that they're buffing like Briar and they're buffing Morgana, it might have been like a damage issue on my end for some of those fights. And then it's just like, okay, now I'm just sitting here, I was 30 HP, now I'm 1 life, and then guess what? Rotate into Vigor another time next round. What am I? I'm 7th, right? It's like it's just with the rerolls being as strong as they are, it does not make sense to me to play around Golden Quest unless you're like really like uncontested on a line, or you have like a really good option, because usually you're gonna take Golden Quest and you're gonna go to level like 8 or 9, usually 8, and you're gonna roll down like 100 gold on level 8 and try and hit everything. It's just so much RNG. So now that it's getting nerfed, it's like it needed to get nerfed because it was broken in a lot of like situations. But with the rise of how many rerolls there are, it just doesn't seem worth it anymore, to me at least. Ascension no longer appears on 2-1. That's pretty good. And they're buffing the damage amp, which is pretty good. Ascension, the problem with Gold Ascension is that it rarely ever procced unless you add like a hero augment or something. So I didn't really like to take it ever, but maybe this makes it a little bit more viable. Avenge the Fallen. Pretty useless augment in general. You usually don't take it because, like, you know, Avenge the Fallen is all about like you lose 3 units and then you start playing the game, and it's like, well, if I already lost 3 units, aren't I already losing the round? Like, it's kind of like I'm playing down an augment for the first half of the fight, so getting a buff makes a little bit of sense. Cauterize, that's the pyro specific one, now could appear on 2-1. That's pretty cool. I didn't even know it couldn't appear on 2-1. Clockwork Accelerator, it didn't feel really good. Maybe the 3% matters, we'll see. Combat bandages, do not take. I'll say it again, don't take. It's bugged. 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 Don't take it. Deja Vu, they're getting 2 Gallios. Or are they nerfing all of them, or just Deja Vu plus? Where's the other ones? Dragon Spirit, gain a Dragon Claws. Champions are equipped with Dragon Claw, gain 100 HP and 10% durability. Okay, so they're making it so that Dragon Claws units, this seems pretty good with, this seems like a better rework. I felt like you never cashed out the fucking Dragon Spirit. This feels like a little bit more viable in terms of just playing around shapeshifters, right? Giving 100 HP to a shapeshifter and durability to a shapeshifter is really huge, as well as a declaw. So this might be takeable if you're playing some kind of shapeshifter frontline, as well as other front lines. It just makes it like a free declaw, and instead of having to wait to cash it out to get items, you get like actually something like durability and HP, which seems pretty good. Flexible, cutting that HP down to 10, perfect. This thing was fucking broken. It was annoying. I hate seeing it. Hunting Frenzy, decrease the execute threshold. I felt like it was fine, but whatever, sure. Keeper's nerf, good. Long distance pals, pretty good. Metabolic Accelerator removed. I don't know why. I don't know if it's bugged or if it's something else. But yeah, that's the one that gives you HP every round, like Tiniest Titan, but sure. Augments Gold, Molten Caramel gained 2 Rumble, Sweet Tooth gained 2 Nunu. So all the plus ones got nerfed. That makes sense. I felt like they were really annoying. Hopefully the Wukong one got nerfed as well, but maybe they only gave 2 Wukongs from the start. Potions 201, I never took it, but buff, sure. Pumping up more starting attack speed. Three's Company, more 3 cost given is pretty good, because that makes it like you can maybe establish your econ really aggressively. And then oh, Unleash the Beast was bugged. It gave 60% attack speed. I see. That's why Unleash the... I was wondering, because Unleash the Beast seemed really strong. So they're just making... It was like visual on the... It just says what it is now. So it's not actually a buff. Worth the wait. 1 round delay is probably better. You get online 1 turn earlier. I felt like this one took too long and it was kind of useless. So that's the one that gives you a 1-star 3 cost over time. Prismatics, Anger Issues, they're giving 5 more armor and MR. I feel like this one just sucks. Anger Issue just sucks in general. The reason it sucks is because you're giving up your ability to make Shred, Sundering, as well as Anti-Heal. So you lose all of those just to make like all these Guinsus. It seems like it makes a lot of sense, but the problem is your frontline units don't really care about the Guinsus, and your backline units care about it, but it doesn't really matter if you don't have Shred or Sundering. So they're giving more armor and MR. That helps out the front line a little bit. I still think this is going to be one of the worst prismatics, just because you don't have any utility. So if you don't have utility, it's like, what comp can you play that doesn't need utility? You probably have to play around dragons. So like, you know, what are you playing? Like you know what I mean? Like Anger Issue seems really good if you can make it to like a fucking Smolder, right? Like I'm sure Anger Issue's triple Guinsu Smolder with like a Shyvana 3 front line is going to be pretty fucking good, but it's like that's not, you can't just take, like, you know what I mean? You can't just take an augment and say I'm gonna play Smolder. You can't take an augment and play it. Oops, sorry. Oh wait, I can do this. But I can put happy faces. Oh, I didn't even know that. Look, I can do tick marks. Yo, I just learned something new. Sick. Yo, the next VOD video is gonna be so nasty. All right. Final Ascension. Oh, now I'm now I'm doing too many of these. Okay, you know what? It's fucked. Giant and Mighty. So Final Ascension. That's a good change, right? Final Ascension is pretty ass. But the thing about Final Ascension is really good is that it gives a starting damage amp. So increasing starting damage amp is really good. Going long. I think it's really shit. I tried it one time. It's pretty bad. Giant and Mighty is good, so this is a good change. It was pretty broken. Level up, more starting XP is pretty good, and invested more starting gold. I think these are all good changes. The only one that I think is really, really, really fucking crazy is Tiniest Titan. So Tiniest Titan is like one of the most insane things to hit, right? Because like now it gives 2 gold per round. I think this was a nerf eventually, right? Like they nerfed it to 2 gold per round. From 2 gold to 1 gold. 2 gold per round is a lot. So not only do you get a lot of HP, you get gold per round. That's like a free... Basically, the way you can think of Tiniest Titan is like it gives you a free reroll per round because it gives you 2 gold per round. That's a lot. So it's pretty substantial as a change. And it also gives you more... the plus gives you less starting gold, but it might be more takeable than always. Than like always dodging it. Charms... they're buffing all of those like attack speed ones and all those ones that were pretty lame. Like they're making a lot of the charms a little bit cheaper and a little bit easier to make, a little bit easier to take, which is fine. I think making the interaction with the mechanics a little bit better, more meaningful, right? Some of these Xerath charms being cheaper are scary to me because like, you know, that's like the sun. Isn't the sun the one that gives you like all the shit? Like it's pretty crazy, right? So these ones are the only ones I'm concerned about. The other ones I think are fine changes because the Xerath charms can be winning on the spot, right? Bug fixes. Okay, let's go through it. Patience is a virtue tooltip. I didn't know about this one. Anger issues no longer give 2 wins to Grain Blade when you make a mana item on a manaless champion. Okay, I didn't know about this one. Critics can no longer be summoned to the board when the combat is resolved. I felt like that was a visual bug. It didn't really matter to me, but sure. Late Bloomer can no longer summon units onto the board if your bench is full. Doesn't matter to me. Eternal Growth can no longer grants permanent health to non-shapeshifters. I know about this one. Mentorship VFX are removed when a champion is benched. Okay, yeah, this one was a bug I saw, but I just thought, that's visual. That's visual. Needlessly large gems VFX no longer mistakenly plays when the holder dies before 15 seconds. Okay, it doesn't matter to me. Flexible and trade tracker now mutually exclusive. Good, that one was annoying. Built diff and trade tracker now mutually exclusive. Good, that's good. Fix a bug where you usually see a flash. Okay, bugs that I didn't want to see. There's a fairy crown bug. I don't see it on this list, so I thought it was known. Because if I can reproduce it, I will make a clip of it and I will send it to Mortdog. Because I think I deleted the VOD where it happened. I'm going to search my VODs and see if I have it. There's a fairy crown bug that's really fucking annoying. There's a lot of fairy crown bugs, by the way. There's ones where it doesn't appear on your bench. You have to toggle in the thing. There's ones where you can put the fairy crown on other units that aren't fairies. None of those got addressed. That's really bad. Because if people find that out, it's like a free fucking item for people. So I'm not going to talk about it that much. I'm not going to say how I got the bug to work in my game. But I am going to I'm going to try and find it so that I can send it to Mortdog's Discord if I can. Maybe they already know about it and they're working on it, but I want to see that bug fix. The other bug fix, did they fix it yet? Rise Shiv. Rise with static Shiv shreds your own team. That bug doesn't look like it's here. Like, Shiv is still really good on Rise in the stats because a Shiv is a Shiv. It's still good, but like Rise shreds your own team. And if you're fighting against like an AP mirror matchup and they don't have shred, you're just giving them free shred. That's kind of annoying. And the other bug is combat bandages, but they know about that one for sure. I wanted to see these change and they weren't changed. So, whatever. That is the game. Anyways, that was the patch review. It was a long one. It was a big patch. I yapped for a while. Hopefully that was an enjoyable video, and hopefully you enjoyed. If you liked it, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for everybody for subscribing, and yeah, I'll see you guys around. I'll be doing a guide either today or tomorrow on reading stats, and then we'll go back to our VOD reviews and hopefully stop by my stream to play bingo. Goodbye.